Hi guys, in today's video we're going to be looking at how exchanging works and what it means to exchange in a calculation. For anyone unsure, exchanging is what was referred to in the good old days as carrying a number. Now, before we get started, it's important to understand how place value works with respect to how a number is actually constructed. So let's take this number here, 49. 49 is made up of 4 tens, which I'm going to place in the tens column here, and 9 units, which I'm going to place in the units column over here. Now, each of these columns is only big enough to hold 9 of their number, 9 of their kind. So the units column here, the maximum it can hold is 9 units. The tens column here, the maximum number of tens it can hold is 9 tens. And the hundreds column here, the most it can hold is 9 hundreds. As soon as we cross past the number 9 in each of these columns, we need to pass over control to the next column. So we pass the number up to the next column. So let's look at a real world example. I've constructed the number 49 here already. So we have the number 49 here and we're looking to add 28. Now, if we were to write this as a formal addition sum, it would look something like this. We'd have 49 plus 28. And the first calculation we would be needing to do would be 9 plus 8 here. So that's what we're going to be looking at first. Now we've got 9 here, and what we're needing to do is we're needing to add 8 units onto this column. Now 9 plus 8 gives us more than 9 units in this column. In fact, it gives us quite substantially more than 9 units. It gives us 17 units. 17 is far too big to fit in this column. So what we have to do is we have to exchange. We are not allowed to fit any more than 9 units in here. So we're going to have to take 10 of these units and we're going to have to exchange them up the way. So here are 10 units. I can move them up into the tens column, which leaves us with a total of 7 units in the units column, and then an extra 10 that is moved up to the tens column. Now we're going to leave that there for later, but for now I will convert it to an extra 10. So that's what we mean by exchanging. I'm going to change these 10 units, into a real 10. Like so. And now I can represent that in the calculation, in the formal calculation here, by writing an extra 1 in the tens column here. So I now have a 4 and this extra 1, which is represented by this new 10 down here. Okay, so I have 4 tens and an extra 10. Now I'm going to add on my other 2 tens from the 28 here. So add on another 2. And in total I've actually added on 3 now. I had the 1 that I exchanged and the other 2 that came from this 20. So in total I have 4 plus 2 plus 1, which adds up to 7. So the answer to this calculation here is 77. And it did involve some exchanging because this 9 and 8 added up to more than 9 units. And so we had to exchange it for 110. Let's look at another example. So in this calculation, we have 378 plus 268. The first part of the calculation I'm going to tackle is this 8 plus 8. So I will need 8 units to add to this units column here. So we've got the 300s, the 7 tens, and the 8 units, and we're adding 268. So I'm going to add the 8 units first of all. Here's our 8 units. And we'll move them into the units column there. But, again, that leaves us with more than 9 units in that column. As a matter of fact, it leaves us with 16 units. Now the 6 is big enough to fit in the units column, but there are 10 units that we are going to have to exchange out from this column into the tens column. So let's see that now. Here are 10 units. I've moved them into the tens column, and as if by magic, they're going to turn into another 10. And on the formal calculation, I mark that on inside the tens column. So I now have 7 tens up here, and an extra 10 down here. Now I need to add on my 6 other 10s. So I'll do that quickly. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And once again, we have too much in that column. There are way more than 9 in there. As a matter of fact, there are 14. I can only fit 4 of them in this one, and the other 10 will have to move up into the next column. So I'm going to take 10 of these and exchange them for a new 100. So I'll take these 10 tens here, and I'll move them up into the hundreds column and change them for an extra 100. Like so. So we now have an extra 100 waiting in the hundreds column. Now, we need to add on our 2 other hundreds from the 200. 1, 2. So in total, we have added on 200s plus another 100. So we now have 600. 646. Now let's look at an example involving subtraction. So we have 383 minus 129. So let's construct this 383 in this grid here. So I have 3 hundreds, 8 tens, and 3 units. And I'm trying to subtract 129. Now we're going to start with the units again, and our first sum is going to be 3 take away 9. Well, if we have a look in the units column here, I only have 3 units. At the moment, it is impossible to take away 9 from that. I cannot take away 9. So, what I'm going to have to do is find a way of making that units column bigger. And to do that, we're going to go over to our friend the tens column here. And we are going to exchange 1 10 for 10 units. So what I can do is I can take a 10, I can move it down into the units column, and as if by magic, it turns into 10 units. Now it's possible to take away 9. So I'm going to take 9 of them here. I'm going to move them out of the calculation, which leaves us with 4 units. Now, to see that in the formal sum, what we've effectively done is we have taken a 10 out of the tens column, leaving us with only 7 in this column. We only have 7 tens left here now. And we moved it into the units column. So we've taken the 10, moved it into the units. We've then done 13 units, take away 9, which has left us with 4 units. Now, we can easily carry on with the rest of the calculation. I only have 7 units in here, but I'm only taking away 2, which can be quite easily done. That has left us with 5 tens. Now I have 3 hundreds, and I'm taking away 100. Again, that's not a problem. I have enough hundreds to do that, and so I'm left with 2 hundreds. So at the end of this calculation, we've had to exchange once, and we are left with 254. Let's see another example. So we have 3 hundreds here. 1 10 and 4 units. So in total we have the number 314. And we're going to take away 156. To start off with, our first calculation is 4 minus 6. We can't do that. We only have 4 units. We cannot take away 6 units from that. So we will have to exchange. I'm going to have to take this 10 and move it down into the units column and exchange it for 10 units. Now that we've got an extra 10 units here, we can easily take away our 6. So, to see that in the calculation, what we've actually done is we have taken this 10 away, moved it into the units column, and it's now become 14. Then we take away our 6, leaving us with 8. So we can see here we have 8 units. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Now, the next calculation is 0 take away 5. We have 0 tens. How are we possibly going to take away 5 from that? At the moment, it's impossible. But if we exchange, I can move 100 into the tens column, change it for 10 tens, and now I can take away 5 of them. So what we did there was we took 100 away. We ended up getting 10 tens for it. Then when we took 5 away, we were left with 5 tens. Our last calculation, we have 200s. Can we take away 1 from that? Well, yes, we can. Easy. Now, our final subtraction sum here is a little bit more complicated, and it's the kind that people get wrong all the time. So we have 301 take away 137. And the first calculation we're going to need to do is 1 take away 7. So if we have a look in the units column, we only have 1 unit. We cannot take away 7. But there's a problem. We have no tens from which we can exchange. So instead, we're going to have to exchange from the hundreds. However, and this is the mistake that a lot of people make, we cannot exchange from the hundreds all the way to the units. That makes no sense. It would be simply ridiculous to exchange 100 for 100 units. So instead, we're going to have to pass it down the line step by step. And we're going to start off by changing this 100 for 10 tens. So we've moved the 100 into the tens column, and in the formal version of the sum, it looks something like that. We've taken 100 out and moved or changed it for 10 tens. But that still doesn't help out our units. We still only have 1 unit here, and we still can't take away 7. So the solution to that is that I take one of the tens and I exchange it into the units column for 10 units. So what we've effectively done is we've got rid of this 10, changed it into a 9. We've taken a 10 away from the tens column and exchange it for 10 units. So we now have in total 11 units. And 11 take away 7 we can do. So we take away these 7 units here, and we are left with 4 units. Now the rest of the calculation is fairly straightforward. We have 9 tens. Can we take away 3? Absolutely. 3 tens there. Off they go. And lastly, 2 hundreds. Take away 1. And we have it there. So, we're left with 6 tens in here and 100 in here. And we have our final answer of 164. But to do that, we had to exchange from the hundreds down into the tens, and then again from the tens into the units. So that's exchanging. We've seen it for both addition and subtraction. The key thing to remember for exchanging though, the golden rule if you like, is place value. We need to remember that no matter what, each of these columns can only fit 9 of their kind in them. If it has more than that, we have to exchange. Follow that rule and you'll always go right.